Hey there, Ahar here, and today we're going to go over 10.1.5 Guardian changes. Just gonna recap through everything, short and sweet. So, starting off, we're going to take a look at the talent point, just locations, changes. At the top of the tree, we have Dream of Cenarius. This was brought from the bottom of the tree, where Flashing Claws currently is, all the way up to the top. And then Flashing Claws got moved down. They just kind of removed this this one node over here. So Dream of Cenarius is now brought up to the top. In the middle of the tree, we have a couple of shifts as well as Thorns of Iron. So there used to be nothing right here in the center where Solar Force is. Solar Force used to be where Thorns of Iron was. They have shifted Solar Force to the left, and they've placed Thorns of Iron from the bottom of the tree up to the middle part of the tree. And this is where the extra node that was right here, that was kind of like removed. So right here used to be where Scintillating Moonlight was. They shifted that downwards, and then right here was where Galactic Guardian was. They adjusted Twin Moonfire, which was right here. So they pretty much moved these around, and then they placed Moonless Light, which was here, in the old Thorns of Iron spot. That was a little confusing, but essentially all they did was they dragged Thorns of Iron from the bottom of the tree to the middle of the tree, and they adjusted the positions of Galactic Guardian, Twin Moonfire, and Moonless Night. That's it. And then at the bottom of the tree, again, there were the shifts where they removed the two nodes, and they kind of pushed Flashing Claws and Scintillating Moonlight downwards. Yeah. Alright. Now we're gonna kind of talk about the changes in the talent points, things like that. Now, first off, obviously Dream of Cenarius. This 1 point is essentially the equivalent of old Word of Glory from Protection Paladins back in 10.1. Very strong. If anybody remembers, it was I would say too strong, and everybody kind of recognized that. Protection Paladins had a lot of spot healing to the point where, you know, even some keys were undoable without the off healing from the Protection Paladin. The Wog was nerfed, obviously, but Guardian Druid getting this Dream of Cenarius will, in my opinion, be too overpowered, especially with how much healing is going on this season. I want to say they will probably nerf this, so just don't be too sad if that happens. Just kind of expect it. In my opinion, it is too strong. You already have a lot of party healing from After the Wildfire, which is Guardian Druid's kind of defining niche right now, where you can heal your party a lot. Super strong, since again the season of M+ is all about party damage, things like that. Okay. Now, middle of the tree, don't have too many changes. It's just, again, a couple of talent point moves arounds. The problem though now is you will have to probably drop Reinforced Fur, and I will show you why in a second. Let me just fill out the tree. So if you are still taking After the Wildfire, which you probably should be, and you're taking Berserk for the, or it's not Berserk, for some reason these all say Berserk, but this is infinite Frenzied Regens while you're inside of Incarn. No cooldown on Frenzied Regen. So this is pretty much mandatory. And the other thing that you're probably taking is Raise, which if you are taking Raise, you essentially need to take Tooth and Claw. And this is 15% haste on your Incarn, so that's also needed. Solar Force is needed. Now you are left with 3 points. One of them has to go into Thorns. So originally your 3 points would go into Layered Mane and Reinforced Fur. Okay, 2 in Layered Mane, 1 Reinforced Fur. But because Thorns got moved up in the middle of the tree, You kind of have to put 1 point in this. It's too much damage to kind of pass up. And so you are left with 2 additional points. You can place them for defense. By defense, it could be in the form of an extra SI. It could be shorter Frenzied Regen cooldown, reduced regen cooldown, or you can maybe put in Ursoc's Endurance, a balance of both damage and defense. It's a little awkward. For me personally, though, I think the 1 point in Vicious Cycle is too worth it because of Raise. You do just so much damage with Raise to where Vicious Cycle definitely is something you want to take. So ultimately, you're just left 1 point. The 1 point, in terms of damage, you would probably take Brambles for some keys. By some keys, I mean the keys where there are a ton of mobs that melee you. And I think I would take Ursoc's Endurance for the keys where there are fewer mobs, just smaller mob density. Neltharian's Lair is an example. Otherwise, again, if I needed the extra defensive, you could run a second SI instead of a defensive trinket. Say, for example, on Tyrant weeks, I know Tyrant Slayer bosses, quite frequent. You might need it on the last boss. Same for Ultimate last boss. Might not necessarily be comfortable with just the defensives you have at hand, so the extra SI could help with that. Same goes for 4 weeks as well. Alright. So for the time being, I'm just going to place it in Brambles. Now, at the bottom of the tree, we have quite a few significant changes. So, oh, I actually forgot. Rend and Tear, Ursoc's Fury, and Pulverize positions got swapped around. Rend and Tear got swapped with Pulverize. Okay. I think this is fine. Pulverize is a very niche talent. You would generally only take if you needed the extra damage reduction. I don't think that is necessarily the case this time around, this season. There aren't too many tank busters, so I think it's absolutely fine. Not that it's fine. I think this is a dead talent this season, so it sucks in that regard. But it doesn't affect the nodes that you want to take. So in that regard, it is fine. But as a capstone talent, it is obviously very bad this season. Very, very bad. Okay, so most people will be taking Rend and Tear, Ursoc's Fury. You will take Raise, so you have to go straight down. You still want Incarn, Ursoc's Guidance. And then you have 3 points left to spare. A lot of people, like Rage of the Sleeper, have been playing with this extra 25% DR. Would be a little difficult to pass up. And then your last 2 points, the debate has been whether you place into Flashing Claws or Galactic Guardian Twin Moonfire. Now, for these points, each have, not each, but Flashing Claws and Galactic Guardian have some changes. So Flashing Claws now is able to stack Thrash an additional time. So currently you are only able to stack Thrash Bleed up to 3 stacks. With 1 point in Flashing Claws, you can stack it to 4. And then with 2 points in Flashing Claws, you can stack it up to 5. This also plays into Rend and Tear, the 2% extra damage you deal and 2% damage reduction. So instead of the standard 6% from 3 stacks of your Thrash Bleed, it will now be up to 5 stacks, or 10%. 10% increased damage dealt and 10% damage reduction. So that is definitely nice as well. And so that would be the equivalent of having the 2 Scintillating Moonlight points that you're now losing. So that's Flashing Claws. Galactic Guardian is a bit of a different one, and I think a lot of people are misunderstanding how it's working. So when Galactic Guardian procs, it will still trigger Twin Moonfire, so you won't lose uptime on your Moonfire. That is not what you lose. What you lose is not being able to proc an existing proc of Galactic Guardian. So the current rotation is when you proc Galactic Guardian, right? So you have the little icon light up, it changes into this symbol. You are not supposed to use up that proc. You're not supposed to press Moonfire to use it up. You're supposed to continue doing your regular rotation and hope that the next Galactic Guardian proc you get will trigger the existing one. Okay? So you essentially hold it for 30 seconds and hope that the next Galactic Guardian proc will proc the existing one. Will use up the existing one. If that maybe too many procs. But yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. Now, if it went down to like 2 seconds, then you obviously press the Moonfire to use it up. Otherwise, you can save that GCD and use it on swipe on something else, and that would be more damage currently in M+. Now with the new change, you will not be able to use up the old proc when you have a new one. So in other words, every single time you get a Galactic Guardian proc, you want to use it as fast as possible. So essentially, Galactic Guardian procs have gone up a lot higher on our rotational priority list. And that essentially is the main difference. That being said, I want to say a lot of people are very doomer about this point. Think it might kill Moonfire completely. That will not be the case at all. Especially if you are a higher M+ key pusher, where you're constantly, doing big pulls, things like that, because you need to time the key, obviously. Moonfire quite often falls off when you're doing eight mob pulls. I think that is pretty reasonable in some of these dungeons. So essentially, you're always kind of not necessarily always, but you are having to refresh Moonfire quite often. You obviously will still lose some damage, but for the most part, because you want to constantly be refreshing Moonfire, making sure you have Moonfire on every single target, then you don't lose actually too much value from this changed Galactic Guardian. Ultimately, Galactic Guardian and Twin Moonfire will be more damage than Flashing Claws. It 100% will be more damage. By how much? Little hard to say. I haven't tested in PTR yet, so I can't really tell you. But I do believe it should be a decent enough amount to where there is definitely a reason to pick Galactic Guardian Twin Moonfire over Flashing Claws if you need the damage for the keys. It won't be something like 1 to 2k DPS, it should be more than that. But obviously, the flip side is maintaining Moonfires is annoying. If you're not on top of that already, it might be something that might be a little difficult to do for you. So, if you wanted a more simple playstyle, you could go Flashing Claws. It definitely will not be the end of the world if you drop Moonfires. You will do less damage, but it should be okay. It shouldn't be too bad. The added bonus of, I guess, taking Flashing Claws over Twin Moonfire. Not added bonus, but rather, you will actually get a bit more value from Flashing Claws over Twin Moonfire. Not just from the damage that, Twin Moonfire does and Galactic Guardian does, but also because you are spending extra GCDs now pressing Raise. So because you are spending extra GCDs pressing raise, especially when you're on Incarn doing big pulls, you're already rage capped for the most part. You want to be pressing raise as much as possible, and having to refresh Moonfire is it definitely sucks. Is the best way to put it. Spending the GCD to press Moonfire instead of just another raise or mangle really, really does suck. And I think that would be the strongest argument as to why you wouldn't want to play Galactic Guardian or Twin Moonfire. Alright. Okay, so that's pretty much about everything on the Guardian tree. Actually, no. There are two other things that I haven't gone over. Moonless Night. Moonless Night also is getting buffed. It went from 10% up to 20%. And then Lunar Beam now increases your mastery by a certain percent. Before it was, I think it was like a flat amount, or maybe it scaled with something else. I forgot. But it now scales with mastery. Supposedly it does a decent amount of damage now. I haven't checked on PTR, and it's not a completely dead talent. So this is something I will have to play around with a bit. Unfortunately, I just can't tell you much about it currently. I'm pretty sure the heal is probably going to be useless. But again, we'll have to see. I'll definitely be messing around with this the first week when 1.5 launches. Okay. Now, in the Druid class tree, the main difference we have here is Rising Light, Falling Night. Well, two main differences, Protector of the Pact and Rising Light, Falling Night. This talent is a new talent. It used to be Improved Sunfire, where Sunfire did AoE. Obviously, that point is completely dead for Guardian Druid. So now, instead of going through the bottom path, where you have increased Typhoon Radius or just reduced cooldown, you can now go the left path, and you can gain a bit more damage and healing. Also, well, depends on, day or night, but you gain either 3% damage healing or 2% verse. So that's a nice little added bonus. Now, right here, Protector of the Pact. This right here, combined with Dream of Cenarius, is what makes it extremely strong. You kind of need Protector of the Pact in combination with Dream of Cenarius. One is not necessarily good without the other. So it's similar to Galactic Guardian Twin Moonfire. You kind of don't want to take one without the other. The points to take out in order to get these two, for me, I most likely will be taking out Innervate and Nature's Vigil. So before, you usually had 1 point Well-Honed Instincts and 1 point Protect the Pack. Now I am going to take the 2 points from Nature's Vigil, Innervate, and place it in Protect the Pack. I think Protect the Pack with Dream of Cenarius is definitely going to be more value than Nature's Vigil. And then as far as the Innervate, you can't really do too much about that, unfortunately. Your healer will kind of have to suck it up a little bit. Now, in order to take Remove Corruption, which I think still needs to be changed significantly, the points that I'm most likely going to drop are Heart of the Wild, Ursul's Vortex, and either 1 point of Nurturing Instinct or Rising Light, Falling Night. Most likely, I'm going to drop 1 point of Nurturing Instinct, because this is magic damage only. Meanwhile, Rising Light is, just all of your damage. So you would most likely drop 1 point in Nurturing Instinct. You could also drop it from Typhoon if you really feel like you don't need it. Or you could drop it from Renewal as well. But I feel like Renewal is always a nice little panic button, so I'm always hesitant to drop Renewal. Alright, that pretty much sums up everything. This video went a little longer than I had wanted, but hope you guys kind of enjoyed this little recap. Good luck with your builds. Let me know what you guys think. And if you guys do want to see some other builds, definitely go check out one of my other videos. I'll probably have it linked somewhere. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.